So today I wanted to talk about the difference between emotions and emotional identity, because there's a lot of information these days about emotional healing, ego death, spirituality, inner child healing. And I wanted to just offer a distinction, at least of how I've worked with it in my life, take it or leave it. The difference between, you know, an emotion, which is a natural part of life. This is naturally part of the human experience. What we signed up for when we decided to become human was to be feelers. I just watched the Barbie movie the other day for the first time, and at the end, the creator, Barbie wants to be human, and the creator says, okay, well, you can do it, but you need to know what you're signing up for. So the creator takes her hands and she closes her eyes and she sees birth and death and experiences and feeling, and she says yes to it. And it just reminded me of, like, we sign up for this experience of feeling deeply. So that, first of all, like, we get the gifts from our feelings, right? When we allow ourselves to feel grief, at least me, like, I've learned so much from grief. I've learned forgiveness of others and myself, and to value the time of people I care about, and I've learned to even realize the eternal nature of reality and of all souls, and realize that nothing is ever lost. Like, every emotion is kind of like a universe of wisdom, and it's just also just part of what we signed up for, but it has so much intelligence within it. Like, when we get angry because we were raised our entire lives to keep our mouth shut and to never speak up and never upset the apple cart, when we finally let ourselves be angry when there's injustice and harassment and all that kind of stuff, that's an improvement. That's more consciousness coming through us. So emotions are incredibly intelligent. But there's a difference between that, right? And people talk about, the way to work with emotions is to sit with them and to be present with them, which I agree with, right? If you're really present with something, so much can be unpacked from that information, that packet of information called an emotion, right? If you are feeling, disappointed and unworthy when your friends are moving on in life when you feel you're not, or you feel lost because you can't seem to find your way when everybody else seems to find their way. If you were really present with that emotion, at some point you'd see, like, well, you're not really lost. You're just choosing to see yourself that way. You're not unworthy. You're just choosing to see yourself that way. Right? Eventually it would occur to you, like, if you were so still with what you're feeling, and that's a very feminine way to work with emotional energy, you'd have realizations of what you believe about yourself and what you're choosing to believe about yourself and about life. Emotional identity, right? The way we work with emotional identity is a bit different, because it's like, our emotional identity is what, basically, when we're children, our brainwaves are in alpha and theta, and we have no way to filter out reality. We have no defenses. We just take in everything. And so we go into our imagination, because in alpha, we're really imaginative, right, in that brainwave state, and we create our own worlds, our own fantasy worlds, where we're in charge of our own chaos, right? So if we learn as children that life is chaos and life is danger, I just have to accept it, I just have to accept it, well, we'll find a way to create our own chaos and danger in our own personal world, but in a way that we're in charge of it. So that could look like developing an addiction. That could look like having intrusive thoughts. Intrusive thoughts are very often the child's familiarity with action and volatility and high octane situations. And even if you grow up to create a more peaceful life, you'll recreate that volatility by scaring yourself, just because you're so used to it, because you don't know who you would be without it, right? That's emotional identity. And those programs have been in place for, if you're, depending on how old you are, however many years that is, since you're since your infancy till now. So, and those programs are designed to keep us safe and to, in terms of what the child believes, safe and in control and comfortable, even if that means living in perpetual fear. To the child, it's better than being a sitting duck and letting the world clobber you, right? I'll clobber myself. So when we're looking at an emotional identity, like make a map of your emotional identity. It's really easy. What do you experience on, while our emotions and our humanity is a normal part of being alive, living in a constant state of stress is unnatural. It's not unnatural in the sense that this is the way the game of life is, that we grow up in these childhoods, we create our fantasy worlds. This is how what life is. But we, instead of sitting with it and honoring it, I say, realize that you have a choice, right? So if part of your emotional identity is being constantly unworthy, how do you know that? How do you know unworthiness, right? People talk about healing unworthiness. I'm going to tell you how to heal unworthiness. It's simple. Look at how often you find unworthiness, right? An excuse to be unworthy in the screen of your reality. Do you look online and compare your body to another body, to your life or your lifestyle or your bank account or your age? Or do you compare yourself in any way that sets yourself up to be unworthy? When your parents make a comment about your life that isn't necessarily loving, do you feel unworthy? Because you don't have to. Period. You don't have to. But if you are searching for unworthiness every day, you're searching for yourself in unworthiness on the internet, in your family dynamic, in your work dynamic. Do you work in an office where somebody always gets acknowledged and and you never get the recognition that you believe you deserve, and you sink into a feeling of unworthiness and you live with that on a daily basis? That is an identity that you are choosing. It's not an emotion to just feel and heal and release. If you tried that, right, you could try that and it might work. That's a very feminine way of working with emotion. Sit with it and realize that it's not true. Let it release. And the idea is when it really releases, right, we no longer feel that it's true. That does work with some emotional energy. It works in my life. It worked really well with impatience. I used to be really impatient. I was with someone at the time who was late to everything, including weddings that he was supposed to be part of. And I would use anything as an excuse to get impatient. And I remember just sitting with the heat, just sitting with it, letting it move through me, releasing it. And then before I knew it, like, impatience was no longer part of my personality. That really does work. But there's some more, in my experience at least, there's some more fundamental kind of constructs that we live in that keep us in control, and we search for ourselves inside of these thoughts and feelings on a daily basis. So the unworthiness thing is simple. Do you look for unworthiness? Do you look to feel unworthy? Is the first thing you do in the morning is to grab your cell phone and to check stuff, and then the result is that you feel unworthy? You don't have to feel unworthy, right? Again, it's a choice. You don't have, nothing that anybody says that's going on in the world, no comparison, nothing has to make you feel unworthy. It's your choice to feel unworthy. And if you're choosing it every single day, it's because you've decided that's who you are. So when people say we create our reality, we attract who we are, well, if you're being unworthy, and it's the unworthiness thing can feel quite subtle until you realize how often you look for it. I'm telling you, this is the key. Look for how often you look for it. How many excuses in a day result in you feeling that way? What conditions in the screen of your life do you project that feeling onto? Do you blame for you feeling that way? It's just you choosing to be unworthy. Nothing that a parent or a friend or the government or nothing that anybody says has any power to make you feel unworthy. It doesn't. So once you see that clearly, once you really see that, it kind of pops. But see, the thing is, especially with things like rage and anxiety, which are more exciting chemicals, like when we realize that part of our emotional identity is to have chronic, crippling anxiety or chronic rage, right? A lot of people that are looking into conspiracy theories, a lot of those people are addicted to rage. And it's not that we should not be enraged by injustice and by a lot of the things going on in the world. We very well should be, because it's good to call a spade and say enough is enough. But we don't get into solution mode if we stay in that energy, right? If we stay in that energy, we're just addicted to rage like any other drug. So the emotional identity is, right, look for it. Like on a daily basis, do you scour your life, the internet, the social media, the family dynamic, the work dynamic, for reasons to feel resentful, bitter, angry? Once you see how you're looking for it all day long, you realize like, oh my God, I'm just choosing to be angry and bitter and resentful, and I'm just projecting it onto everything in my life every day. When it comes to anxiety and fear, right, I experienced pretty intense anxiety and fear in my life, and worry. It's the same thing. We believe we feel in control and safe if we are in charge of our own turbulence. I will create my own turbulence. The world will not blend my guts today. I'll do it. The world will not clobber me today. I'll clobber me today. The world will not disturb me today. I will disturb myself, because then I'm in control of everything. The antidote to chronic stress and worry is to realize that you have a choice. There's a beautiful book that I highly recommend. It's called The End of Fear. And I don't remember the author's name. Her first name might be Janice. But she had a fear of getting breast cancer, and she had lumps in her breast that she had to check on a yearly basis. And she was part of some institution that had a guru. She had a guru, and I don't remember which kind of yoga it was, but her guru told her, look, Janice, or whoever the woman's name was, she would say, oh, I'm so afraid, like I'm so anxious, like I can't stop being worried about this. This is so terrifying. And the guru said, you must be okay anyway. Be okay anyway. Be at peace. I've done this in my life. I've had to deal with medical stuff, right? It's never the medical thing or the possibility of an illness that's making you feel worried. It's not the scary nightmares you're having. It's not anything that is making you feel anxious. It's your own choice to stay in that world that you created as a child. And to say to yourself, like, I can be okay no matter what's going on in my world, right? No matter how uncertain my life is, I literally have the choice to be okay anyway. It's a choice. I don't have to, right? And of course, it's helpful to learn how to breathe and anchor your energy in your root chakra and open your heart, right? Knowing how to modulate your energy, how to shift the attention. But it's deeper than shifting attention. It's deeper than just distracting yourself and putting your attention on somewhere more comfortable, like your heart. It's realizing, like, I chose this when I was 2 years old. I chose this. I don't have to choose this anymore. And the thing is, when you choose to stop living in chronic anger, anxiety, fear, unworthiness, whatever it may be, when you make that decision, the body will fight back, because that program has been running, right, for however many years you've been alive. It's been running to help you be comfortable, to help you feel in control, to help you feel powerful, to help you feel safe. It will fight back. It will say, come on, just give me a little more anxiety. Just give me a little more fear, a little more anger. Let's get rage. Let's let's get fucked up. Like, that's what the body mind, you know, like when in Eastern philosophy, when they talk about the body mind, it's the habituated thoughts and feelings. It's these habituated emotional chemical addictions. And you can literally decide to stop being addicted to that identity. You don't have to let the world and politics piss you off. You don't have to let your mother's comments piss you off. You don't have to let anything piss you off. And you should let some things piss you off, because in some cases anger and rage and fire is the very thing that is needed to change a situation, right? Like I said, a lot of women or people stuck in unconscious feminine energy are so conditioned to never upset the apple cart and to do things that we don't want to do. I talked in another video about having sex when you don't want to have sex. Guess what? That's an act of violence against yourself. We acquiesce to the desires of others. This is part of, I guess, the patriarchy, which I don't like that word, because patriarchy insinuates that it's like all unconscious male that's been ruling the world, but an unconscious female is what allows the unconscious male to rule the world. So we have to take responsibility for the unconscious female, which acquiesces, just walk all over me, do whatever you want to be, right? Getting angry is actually a step forward, because it's like, enough is enough. I can't tell you how many times I've been in spiritual events, and not many times. I was exaggerating. A few times I've been in these events where there, like, something very inappropriate, right, was happening, and I spoke up, and somebody who cares about me very much said, "Alex, you're humiliating yourself." And I said, "Excuse me?" I'm not humiliating myself. Like, I'm saying enough is enough in a very kind way, and sometimes in a not kind way, but in that case it was a kind way. Enough is enough, right? Things need to be said. How many people are holding family secrets? Right, and I'm not saying you need to go tell your whole family all your family secrets, but my God, were you sexually abused as a child? Say it to someone, whether it's a therapist, whether it's your daughter, whether it's your husband, whether it's the person that did it to you. Say it, right? Emotions are intelligent. But what I'm talking about, when I talk about emotional identity and the body mind, I'm saying just look at your life and look at all of the ways that you search for unworthiness. Another big one is guilt. Guilt. Guilt also has its intelligence, right? If we are not living a life of integrity, if we're lying to people all the time, if we're covering things up, if we're being emotionally manipulative, if we're even being unconsciously seductive, if we're trying to manipulate and control reality in a dishonest way, guilt is a good thing, right? That's what separates someone who is truly a narcissist from, which a true, you know, that word is thrown around very loosely. Someone who truly lacks empathy, who in reality is probably one of the most sensitive people, for them to shut down the very natural thing of empathy. But like, it's good that we feel guilt, because it teaches us to be more honest, to communicate, to learn how to communicate about things that the world has taught us are difficult things to say. Like in the example of sex, to be able to tell your partner, like, I don't want to have sex right now, or this week, right? That's very hard for some people to say. It's very hard for some people to say, I've been abused. So guilt is intelligent to a point in certain contexts, but if you're starting to become individuated and have boundaries and be more selective about your clients and about your friends, but then your guilty self, your guilty identity is trying to pull you down all day, saying like, oh no, you can't stop talking to that person, you're all they have, they don't have friends in their life. Well, guess what? That's their choice. That's their choice. You didn't create their life. You didn't create people's lives. You didn't make their choices. You don't have to save the world, and in fact you can't. It's literally impossible to save someone else. It's possible for someone to ask and you to be a vessel to give something that they're asking for, but that's a cooperative dynamic. But the guilty self, which is part of this, it's part of unconscious, both male and female. It's unconscious female because we're staying in the sensation, we're addicted to feeling like there's something fundamentally wrong with us, right? If I insist on feeling guilty on a daily basis, like what are the reasons that I insist on doing that? Why? Because I don't want to talk to this person anymore, because I want to leave my job that makes me miserable, because I should have given that person a better gift for Christmas, because I should be doing this and that, or I should give this person that I work with a discount. Like, no, it's just part of our identity. Like, whenever we try to be individuated and have self-respect, that guilty self will try to make you feel like there's something wrong with you. That's part of the emotional identity. I didn't realize how big of a part of my emotional identity guilt was until I noticed it one day, and then I started looking every day, and I was like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. God, I use like every freaking excuse to feel guilty. Like, I will tell a friend, I am a person who, I have very specific biorhythms, right? I go to bed early, I do this and that, and I eat healthy, and I literally tell someone, like, okay, I'm gonna come along, we'll do this thing together, but don't expect me to stay out past a certain time. You know, don't expect me to do this, because it's just not, right now at least, it's not something that feels comfortable for me. And I'll just be myself, and then I would find myself feeling guilty about it and being like, wait, I told them point blank, so I was honest. I was honest and clear, but I'm still making myself feel guilty because I should have, it was her birthday. I should have stayed out later. I should have gone on that flight when I really wasn't feeling like flying that day. I should have, okay? Look for it. Look for it. Map out your emotional identity, right? Guilt and shame. Shame. Do you look for reasons every single day to feel ashamed of yourself? For me, you know, for a lot of people, for the longest time, it was just, I could hardly look in the mirror because I had so much cancer surgery, and I had so much swelling, and it was unbearable for me to even look at. But I realized, like, wait a minute, like, I don't have to look in the mirror and feel ashamed. This is my choice. I don't have to, like, be bloated one week and not fit into, like, the outfits that I want to wear and feel ashamed. I don't have to feel ashamed of myself. This is a choice that I'm making, right? And really, you really want to get the guilt and the shame and the unworthiness, those lower chakra energies, because if we do create what we are being, really look for the ways that you are being guilty, ashamed, and unworthy on a daily basis, and stop it. It's really that simple. Stop it. It's easy. It's simple. Healing this unworthiness thing is simple. It's realizing this is a choice. And like I said, it's like, it is a realization that your life and the way that your life has unfolded and is unfolding, who you are is who you wanted to be. You chose to be you. You are the creator expressing as a creation. You are the divine expressing as this creation. You wanted to be you and live your life and be yourself. You chose your body. You chose your family. Like, it's interesting actually to ask yourself, and this is kind of a tangent, but recently I felt so much love for, I've done so much healing within myself that now I'm truly feeling genuine love and adoration for my parents, for my family. And I'm realizing, like, the reasons why I chose them. Like, yeah, I chose them in shadow reasons to heal and transcend those qualities. But my God, they have such amazing qualities too. And I'm appreciating them because I've learned to appreciate myself, because we do to others what we do to ourselves. I don't feel unworthy anymore because I realized It's a freaking choice. You know, I'm turning 37 in a couple weeks. I don't have children. And I used to think that was the biggest failure. And now I'm like, oh my God, I'm happy with who I am. Whether I end up having children or not, I know. I'm pretty sure I'm going to. But if I didn't, like, I'd honestly be okay. Because children, or having a perfect body, or having a perfect life, or having a perfect career, none of those things makes you happy. You deciding to be happy makes you happy. That's the most important thing on the chart of the siddhis, right? Above being invisible, above time traveling, above all of the different siddhis, all the different psychic powers that we could have. Do you know what's at the top? Choosing joy because you want to. But it's not so mysterious and metaphysical to be like some great power. It's just a choice that we have. And the way that we heal this emotional identity is to realize we created it in fear. We are looking for it on a daily basis, so stop it. Cut it off. Cut off the fuel. Either cut off the fuel, stop looking at those social media accounts that make you feel unworthy, or look at them and say to yourself, what? I can't believe it's almost hilarious that I was making myself feel unworthy because I don't have, I'm not yet a self-made millionaire or blah blah blah. No, I'm not unworthy. Like I'm the freaking divine, like living my journey. It's a realization. And nothing can take that from you. And imagine what you can create. And it's ironic because creating anything becomes kind of unimportant because you already created the most important thing, which is self-worth. Not even self-worth. Self-worth is kind of not even it. It's joy. It's the self-evident joy that's there when you realize, when you identify your emotional identity, and when you pop and when you say, oh shit, I don't need to be that person. I don't need to be offended every day. And yes, when you decide to change, the body will fight back. And to realize that if you feel extremely and excruciatingly uncomfortable while your body mind is fighting back and your body's begging for those chemicals, don't let that make you feel unworthy. That's your choice. You can say instead, like, okay, it's good to know that my body's fighting back. That means that I'm actually going somewhere, because why would it be fighting back unless I was actually changing? And just keep going and honor what you need to do. Rest when you need to rest. If you're trying to overcome anxiety, your body might flood you with fear. Okay, so learn how to breathe and channel loving kindness into your heart, into your lower belly. Right? Ask your higher self, ask your heart, how can I work with this? Always ask the present moment, how can I work with this? You'll get an answer. So understand that when you do decide to change, it is so uncomfortable. But don't look for results. Just keep going. Just keep going. And one day your body will just, it will give in. And you will realize, like, oh my God, in not that much time, really, I came back to my natural self. I came back to who I really am, to joy, to love, to peace. So I hope this is helpful, and I hope you have a beautiful day.